take some of these Skittles.
Okay.
I have it pulled up now.
Oh, see, you're just getting lower and lower. He's basically just laying on the ground.
He is. He's comfortable now. He's enjoying it.
Don't fall asleep though. If you fall asleep, we're gonna wake you up.
I would never dream
You're gonna
of
hate
it.
We're gonna like pour Everclear on your face.
David wasn't here last week because he was under police interrogation because of shooting off fireworks at the 4th Grove.
Wait, what?
In the grass.
Wait, what happened?
What?
Wait, what happened?
The grass was soaking moist.
Soaking moist.
Wait, did they actually do that?
Yes.
Okay, because I would have totally believed it.
Yeah.
Are you doing that for your own peace of mind or because you know?
They also broke David's knees, but
I was there. They were at my
Oh,
house
yeah.
4th of July.
Right.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
Set
I'm
off
sorry I
fireworks
missed that.
on the grass.
I wish I could.
Oh, but the cops didn't come.
No.
No.
That's what I was wondering about.
No,
No,
last
you
night.
didn't even
I
see any
wasn't-
Oh
drive
my
by.
gosh, crazy ass story. Last night we're sitting on the front porch at midnight because that's what we do as a family.
I mean, yeah.
And this drunk driver in one of those new crossover Subarus,
Ostrich?
yeah, was going like 40 miles an hour down the wrong side of the road and almost pile drived into Trevor's car in front of our house. And then he swerved and almost went up on the sidewalk, and then he went all the way down to the park where that barrier is.
Yeah.
And he almost burst through that, stopped, backed up, thought that the walking path down to the park was a road.
Oh my god.
Oh my
How
god.
tall was this dude?
Drove
What was he
down
running
the
from?
road. It's at this point that we called the cops on
Well,
him.
yeah.
And then he backed up and took out one of the dog park signs, and it scraped up the entire side of his car. Like, that dude's car is fucked. And then he just took off like right in front of our house, going 50, maybe 55 miles an
He
hour.
was
hope
running
they
from
catch him.
someone, or he was like
No,
on
he was
P-
drunk out
that,
of
or
his
he was on
mind.
PCP.
Or, yeah, I think he was on drugs.
Cool story. So,
I liked it.
when
That
last
was a good
we-
story.
When last we left
Glad
off,
no one got hurt.
Shh, shut the fuck up.
This is
Oh.
the neighborhood.
When last we left off,
Bitch.
When last we left off, a lot of you guys were in the tavern owned by Grover, and you had kind of taken a tour around the city, led along by Dorothy Kilgallen, who has some investigation that she wants to go underway for about a nearby pond with something called Skull Island in the center of it, where there's been rumors of this kind of myth, legend of sorts called Old Iron Face. And she kind of wants to get down to the root of it and figure out who it is, what's it about, so on and so forth. That said, the night before, in between stopping at the tavern, getting drinks, so on and so forth, she managed to set up a ride sometime today to get you guys over towards the pond and to a dock where you can take a boat to go and check out Skull Island. When you guys wake up, it's early morning, but sun's coming up, the birds are chirping, and the city is starting to kind of bristle and glisten to life. What did a lot of you do?
I'm gonna get my mask checked out.
Okay.
Hey, Zion.
Are you in the woman's room? Yes.
Yeah, but I am a man right now.
Yeah, you're in the girls' room.
And now,
But you are
walking
mad,
outside.
right?
I'll be back, everyone. Walking over to Zion's door.
You may enter!
Thank you. Open the door. It's locked.
Just kidding.
I unlocked the door.
Okay,
Okay.
and then I walk in and I say, "Here's a mask. Take a look at it for me."
I inspect the mask.
Inspect
Okay,
the
go ahead and roll Arcana to identify. Look at it.
Inspecto Patron.
I had to close one and then open it.
Start rolling.
Uh-huh.
Inspecto Pastrami. Inspecto.
That's bad. That goes on Arcana.
Pesto Pastrami. That's how there will be blood.
Alright, so I got
Hey.
22
22. Is that with mods?
with mods.
Okay.
Oh!
So,
Can't roll with
With all respective marks,
Oh.
because he gets his bonus. Alright.
Bonus check?
More.
Unassuming mask, this kind of wooden bowl with holes in its eyes. You begin to kind of tear into its magical essence to kind of get a glimpse at what its true nature is. And it seems as if, as you're kind of picking apart the essence of this mask, it seems as if there's kind of a shiftiness about it. What you're looking at is kind of its assumed form, but upon wearing it, you get the idea that there's some kind of ritualistic magic that takes place. With regards to what the ritual is and what it entails, you can't quite decipher. It seems pretty strong in its potency. However, you can glean that it definitely can change form in some variety.
like actually change shape, or
Yeah, the mask itself, and it has more magic than what's just surrounding its immediate aura. Like it kind of leaches out a little bit with, you know, you kind of picking apart its magical substance. That said, statistically speaking, the biggest thing that you do know is that it takes some time to recharge because it's such a potent effect. So you gather that it takes maybe like over an hour, like maybe 2 hours to kind of gather enough energy to kind of do whatever kind of ritual it enacts. But you get the impression that it does change its shape, and you wouldn't be shocked if that's integral to what kind of ritual it does.
Alright. So, what about it?
this mask is very special.
That's great. Tell me more.
It has it changes shape. It's very powerful for a very certain ritual. That's to do with changing the shape, which is pretty cool, in my opinion.
And the ritual is?
I have no idea. But I'm happy to assist you and tell you that once you do go through with such ritual,
This is the most I've ever
it takes about an hour and a half or two to recharge. So use these rituals. I have no idea how you
I
would
get
use.
I get this
wisely.
feeling
Hey, alright, thanks.
that he's talking.
All I keep in mind. It works.
Anytime.
Kind of rituals, any religious rituals, or just like some satanic shit?
That's
Good
still
shit.
religious.
Lean towards satanic, because it's less holy and more. Oh, also lean forward. You're making the thing.
Lean towards. Well,
Do two types of leaning here.
Get ready for the dungeon wall.
Oh
Dungeon wall.
think less religious and holy and more arcane, I guess satanic. So it would be more just kind of magic focused rather than like drawing from a higher power, whether that's good or evil, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Basically, it's more arcane.
It is not necessarily religious, but a magic in of itself.
Okay. My holy man power.
That's what I was-
not existing.
Nope.
I can't do most days. So. Thanks. I'm gonna go back to the real room. Alright. Is my door still locked or would you leave it
Did you like it?
on? No lock. Can you come back in? Okay. It's locked.
Who's there?
It's Toes and Zion.
Okay.
Who?
Toes and Zion.
Do you know how to pick a lock?
It is Toes and Zion. I do not know how to pick a lock.
This is a crucial time for me to figure out this skill.
Jordan. What was your
Patty
first place?
PG, and I'll show you a different kind of lock.
It
What was
was
his
you,
name?
Toes on one side, and then Twiggy and Slaker on the other.
Okay.
Basically, it's just
It's just
one
like one
room
big room, okay.
with 4 individual beds in the same room, if that makes sense. So very, very bare bones hotel kind of thing.
Okay, awesome. Cool.
I go over and open the door and hand him the key, and then I close the door and lock it.
Yeah.
Alright. I lock the door. And walk in and say, okay.
Great technique.
Yeah, thanks. Catch you on. Get the keys on it. I don't want
I take the key.
Okay. It's a little wooden key with a leaf on it.
Remember, we gotta return that when we leave the hotel.
Sure.
We're gonna be charged a fee.
We could just make it duplicate, it's fine.
How goes that, please?
The tree will have to carve it out himself.
Grover, what are you doing? This is routine.
Lock doors are come on in. Alright. Slaker, what are you doing now that Zion and Toes have entered the chamber?
Yawn in the other room.
Dude, you're in your own room. What are you up to?
I forgot the
You got
sleeping
like
arrangement.
really bare bones sleeping.
Oh yeah, I
Is
did.
what you
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
Because you were like, whatever's cost effective.
Yes, that's right.
I literally don't.
All of your things will just have the same picture on them.
What? Yeah. Because I come out of the
Here's
things
the
where I
light.
got the
Who
actual
says
force.
I never even noticed it until like just now, and I was so.
There's no knife in there. That's a fucking candle.
Nope, just a candle on the table.
I thought that was helmet and that
Candle
was like
dinner.
chainmail and that the
Back
candle
to
was
the
in front of
game.
the
So,
Anyway.
Jan, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yawn awakens.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Jan's gonna go find the gang.
That's good.
Okay.
Approach
You know where we are?
Zion's room. I assume. I hope so. We've been spending time at this tavern.
You open Zion's room, it's empty.
Zion. He moves on to the next room.
Okay. Oh, what do you know? There's 4 people in a gnome.
Hey, our door is locked.
Good day.
No, he unlocked it.
No, I guess I didn't realize it. Sorry. I guess you didn't show me.
I mean, you can just shout, hey, this is locked, and he tries to open the door.
The door's locked. It's locked.
Oh. I closed the door.
I go over and lock the door.
Okay, that's really good paladin play.
I act as if the door is locked. May I enter?
Who is it?
Yawn.
We don't know a yawn.
Jan's already in here.
And then I
Who is
yawn
this
really
young?
loud.
Upon hearing that, Young bursts open the door, sword drawn. Doppelganger, where are you?
Oh my God!
Imposter.
Grover. Forcing Grover's locks like that.
Wow,
Jeez,
that scared you.
Thought paladins were
Forgive
about
me, I
consent.
thought there was an imposter nearby.
Perhaps. I make a replica of Jan that's 5 feet tall.
Can you make one, or?
Like
I
out of
forbid
Grover?
Yeah,
this.
like
Oh.
with minor illusion. Except it's only 5 feet tall, like that's the maximum.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna be a small Jan like right next to him. Like, oh!
He appears, or he immediately.
It's just basically.
Wasn't there by the time I opened the door.
No,
No.
what he does is he's just like, and then you
Yeah,
have like a
and then
Han
it's there.
Solo
Yeah.
yawn.
I
Whereas
say,
it's
cease
basically-
this at once.
No, it's you though. I swear.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, it disappears, right?
Yep.
Oh.
As soon as you touch it.
Zion.
It is not! Buffoons.
Wow.
Well, shall we hit the road?
Yes, indeed.
Slaker bends over and hits the.
That's not the road.
It's the closest thing.
Slaker's not wrong.
You can hear Grover groaning.
You just hear it from the bar.
You hit me.
Face just
Yeah,
like
he groans
appears
for that,
there.
but not
Face
for
appears on the
Grover
floor
breaking the door
boards, yeah.
down.
I know.
The floor is Grover's genitalia.
Oh, now you
What-
made
what
it.
about the
Weird
door?
twist on the floor is
The
lava.
door's
Like he freaking broke the door down without Grover's consent.
Yeah, God.
We'll apologize on the way out.
Speaking of which, let's get out.
Send the hot button issue in the
Let's
TV
go.
world.
Slaker leaves
Is it
the
Grover
room,
world?
goes
Okay.
out to the road, bends down, and smacks it.
Okay,
I walk
Slaker
out.
walks down the stairs past any and all who would be in the tavern and just out the front door. And,
I follow and I go, yes, exactly.
okay.
I'm gonna fall outside.
I have hit the road.
Good job.
Alright, you go ahead and roll perception.
Okay.
Because they're pretty one-track minded.
Damn it. It's probably like 6.
6?
Well,
Alright.
so is he.
A 6 is enough to know that there's a good number of people at the bar and at different tables kind of scattered around in the rest of the tavern.
Okay. There's patrons, but I just ignore them.
There's patrons, but you don't like look at anybody's faces. You just see people.
I'm just like rubbing the sleep from my eyes.
saving
Just like,
yourself?
yeah, I'm up in the morning, fucking going outside.
Yeah. I'm gonna stretch.
Yeah, works for me.
Alright, Faye, Yon, and Zion.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? 3 of your companions have just basically walked out the door and outside.
Yeah, I'll just follow them.
Okay.
How do you play the game? No, that's you.
Why don't you take the
I
orange
wasn't trying
one?
to interrupt.
I'm gonna follow it after too.
Okay. As you get down the stairs, you notice Toes like take note of the people that are kind of scattered around, but just kind of keeps heading for the door in front.
Whoever stops you and says, "Who was that?"
What are you doing?
I wish you did. We'll follow the group. Go downstairs.
Okay.
There you go.
As you follow along, you're tailing a little bit slower behind. Go ahead and roll perception.
Whoa.
24.
24?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Yeah. Among the different people, you notice that there's a couple of tables that seem to be more downtrodden people. So a lot of ragged clothes, and they have dirt and muck, and it looks like they probably slept in what they're wearing right now. And then you notice a couple of more like well-established looking folks that are like just sitting down having chat. They look like they might be craftsmen or merchants or some kind. And somewhere along the bar, you can see Grover is busily kind of attending to some people, but most of his attention is diverted to one of the guests that you recognize as Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Fletch.
Okay. Does the rest of the group see her?
Nope.
Are they going out the door?
Oh,
I already hit
they're
the road.
walking
Oh,
straight
they're
out
already
the
out the
Yeah,
door.
we already hit the road.
No,
Oh,
I
they're
hit the
approach
road.
Dorothy.
It's a collective effort. I was there for
It's a
moral
figure.
support.
Yeah, no, they just seem to have walked past.
I'm gonna stop them first.
Okay.
Toes!
No, yes.
Come back! Our friend is here.
Yeah, the tree, right, Grover?
No, Miss Dorothy!
Oh. Alright.
Return!
Okay, I'm coming back.
That means
Let me
you have to
look
get.
at everybody else.
Yeah, you have to also get back in disguise, though. Doesn't she think you're?
No, I
right
was
here?
spoiled and she knows that I lied.
Oh, yeah, she doesn't know
Okay,
that.
I missed that part.
You cannot tell
Sure
her.
did.
She's like
Because Faye wasn't there for that.
she's like
Okay,
the
cool.
counterpart to
She's
George
anti-toes.
Washington.
Yeah.
Anti-toes. I mean, understandable. I don't blame her.
Alright, so I walk outside, I go, alright, Slaker, everybody unhit the road. Grover's here.
Do we have to like?
I go,
From the road.
also, do speaking for me.
Do you speak?
I'm leaving. I just walk inside.
Okay.
I'm gonna clarify.
I'll just follow him, just jelly.
Yes, I'm walking back
Okay.
inside.
I've hit the road, I'm accomplished.
Oh,
Okay.
Accomplished.
Are you just like
Hit
sitting
the
there
road.
contently, or
Hit
I don't know
the
if you
road.
tried to
Yeah,
unhit
that
the
kind of
road,
hit.
or
Hit the road.
because that's what
Hit the
Toes
road.
was saying.
I'm fine.
I like that idea. I'm gonna bend down and go. And then walk inside.
She
Okay.
likes to think she made the sound effect and everything.
No, that's exactly it.
I want to acknowledge
But-
there's definitely like a fist print where she hit the road, but that hasn't gone away. But
But
it's
like,
okay.
you need to imagine the sloshy noises that come out of this creature when it does that.
That's really gross.
Yeah.
That's sexy.
Damn, Slacker, you're really
Yeah,
owning it right
yeah,
now.
but like I can still make
Yeah, it's strong.
strong. Yeah.
Strong boy. Alright, so you just all walk in and approach the bar. Dorothy seems to be like midway into conversation with Grover, and she notices Jan first, and is just like, I'm glad to see that everybody's awake and everything. How did everyone sleep? I hope Grover treated you well.
Grover was excellent.
That's good.
A fine host.
Pretty sure Grover was
Makes
feeling
you sound
the
like a parasite.
was he fine.
She has her glasses on and
Well, Jordan's
and
a
very
fine
clearly
host.
writes down
We are his
fine
parasites.
host.
Voluntary parasites.
I say it makes you
Voluntary
sound like a
spotting?
parasite.
Parasites. No, parasites. Different.
I say to him that makes you sound like a parasite.
He's the parasite?
Yeah.
I say we
Grover
are
was a
voluntary.
fine host.
We are voluntary parasites who have exchanged currency for lodging.
Yeah, I
This
guess
is
in
all getting a
that
little
in that
weird.
kind of instance it'd be more like a symbiotic relationship
Yeah.
than parasitic.
Yeah, it's not really
A
parasitic.
symbiote.
Parasitic
We
is
would
more
be
like, you
parasites.
know.
We have both benefited from the transaction.
That's not always how parasites work.
Slaker
That's what
says.
symbiotes are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Thank you
they're
very much.
symbiotic. They're not
Slaker says,
parasites.
I feel like they're one and the same.
There are parasites that
So so I have a bride of sorts. It's cheap, but it's effective, and it would be taking us just north of here, and we are going to meet a young friend of mine. His name is Hinata, who he managed to convince his father to lend us his fishing boats to recreationally go fishing, but wink wink, we'll be going to Skull Island instead.
Why did you wink? Do you know what winking is? Hang on.
Because we aren't actually going fishing. I mean, I guess you could while we're on the boat there, but it probably wouldn't be very effective. Anyway, so what we have is we have two separate boats. Hinata has the smaller boat. It's kind of more his. It's called Spindrift, and then ours is the Lazolitan, which is a bigger fishing boat. And he said to meet us at the dock, and then if he's there, then we will be able to just meet up with him and head out all together. But he was actually really excited to kind of go and check out what's going on with Old Ironface and stuff. He's got some kind of interest in like the urban legend and prestige of it and all that. He's very, very cute young man. He was looking. He might be heading out there before we get there, but he at least has all the arrangements set. So if we get to the dock, we'll be able to just kind of take it from there. And then I do have some instructions, and she goes,
Do you have a ship captain?
I mean, technically, no.
All right, well you got one now.
Do you know
Are you a ship captain?
Do you have any idea how to do that, Thomas?
fly a
He will
ship?
transform into Captain.
Yeah, I'll be Captain Abraham.
Captain Abraham Boise.
It's
Well,
just for formalities
Voices.
more than
Okay.
anything. Athletic ability.
Just
Alright, well, at very minimum, we know who's going down with the ship if we sink, so that's good.
we usually blame everything on toast too.
Alright, well,
Toes, not King What's his last one.
you mean Captain
Oh, sorry, it's a nickname.
Abraham?
It's Captain Ahab.
Toes.
Yeah, it's Captain Abraham for him.
Ahab.
Abraham.
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 So anyways, I have a donkey and a cart, let's go.
Abraham.
What?
Who paid?
Hey.
First
That
one
means
is
I
on
did
the
like this.
donkeys.
David.
That's definitely David's signature.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Zorro signature.
Alright, so since I know where the dock's located, I'll go ahead and steer the mule.
Okay.
Out of game, I am considered one size larger in blue form.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Okay.
We're not going to
Yeah.
any clothing stores.
I know she said like smaller boat, larger boat. I don't know if that makes a difference.
It's larger boat that can fit at least 6 people.
Okay,
I'm so cool.
At minimal.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm also.
It's fine.
I mean, I'm
not that
5'11"
high.
right now.
I'm 5'11" right now.
No, you're not.
I'm short.
It passed away.
That,
Damn it,
that
spell
guys!
a while
We
ago.
passed
I-
The spell ends after an hour.
Yeah.
It is
I
no
forgot
longer
about
with
We
us.
that.
low-key retconned yesterday.
That's fine.
Just
So
low-key.
does- so
I
does
still.
Fletch even know
I
who
want
this
to
is?
think I'm tall. Oh yeah, Fletch does. Would Fletch know who I am?
Yeah, you were there. You just didn't say anything.
Well, yeah, no, but like in
I
regular
like
form.
that she's still.
Oh.
Oh yeah. No,
Okay.
she knows what.
Oh, you're Fletch.
Okay, cool.
Oh.
Don't worry
so
about
that- Yeah.
Cool.
Literally, there's one person that she was like, "What? Oh." And now we know.
Right.
Anyways, so yeah,
I like to
she
think that I was
she
just,
leads
like,
you
super tall, but also
outside
expect
of the
Like, Turn
tavern.
around. Like, wait, what?
She leads you all outside of the tavern, and there's just
Slaker bends down in his throat.
the hole is bigger now. She leads you all outside, and
So this
when
is
she
where
does,
bubbles come
you
from?
see there's a mule that's kind of just tied up to a post that seems to be growing out of the wall of the tavern. And then attached to said donkey, there is a very large cart that's kind of got, you could call them seats, but they look like they're more built for shelving. So not comfortable seating, but something that'll at least get you where you're all going. And she just hops right on top of the mule and goes whoosh, and pulls it up in front of you. He's like, "All right, everybody, get on board,"
All
I
right.
throw
and
my
points
body
at the
onto
cart.
it.
I'm just gonna hop, just very delicately, just like.
I jump as high as I can to swim into the cart.
I sort of feel like the Hulk right now, so I kind of put like one foot on and like put half my weight on it and see how the cart reacts.
It creaks a little bit, but it seems like it's definitely built for heavier load.
All right, I jump on.
Oh god.
It rocks a little, but you're good. Faye does a little. You're flat, so
I'm
Yeah.
one.
so long as she
tiny
didn't jump
baby.
on you, you're good.
I'm
Yeah.
a tiny little baby.
I just want to make a comment as we pass and say, I wonder if Grover can like bamboo torture people. Yeah. Just wondering, came through my head. Maybe you
Sure,
can
yeah.
torture people. Anyway, remember that for later.
That's a
Here's
valid
the interrogation.
What is torture?
I'll tell you about it. Let's get in the cart.
I hope you have a good reason for this one.
No, it's not like good. It's not like a good reason.
I suggest you not bring it up again.
Check out Grover.
I thought you were lawful neutral it right now.
What is torture?
Well, he's trying.
Torture's
Well,
like
I
just
can't.
being around you.
It's really bad.
Not
know
anymore.
what I'm-
Robert,
I don't
this
know
is
what
a
I'm
good
doing.
development. I'm happy about
I
it.
don't know what you're
Keep
doing.
doing it.
okay?
But when Grover does it, there's bamboo.
You could just
Slaker
grow
and
branches
bamboo.
through,
Definition
slowly
of
pushing
torture.
their
Yeah, you
organs.
totally could, yeah.
Fuck. I was
Just,
thinking
but like
that.
if
I was
you
like,
do
what's
it
Grover doing
slowly
with
enough, you can just move them out of
We
the
don't
way.
talk about Grover Treeland's
We
basement.
gotta talk about Grover's basement.
Well, of course we don't.
We have agreed his full name is Grover Treeland.
All right, so does everyone get on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
All right, cool. And whoosh, she leads you out past
Come,
kind of
Patsy.
the tavern square,
His
and
name's Ed.
Come, Ed.
she leads you out past the tavern, and then past kind of the town square, and then out and away
like
towards
actual
the
coconuts, right?
north end of town. And Pause for pizza. Woo!
Yeah, it stopped a while ago.
Alright.
That's really
Should be that deep.
Did
Give
we
it
miss
like
all of our
3
things?
seconds.
Here we go.
Oh, it's red.
It stopped before
It was
green.
right before that.
Here we go.
It was-
Cross
no, it was
the river.
blue.
Yeah, but
Through the
Oh,
hills.
I
I
noticed. I
No, it
clicked
was
it
blue
to
3 seconds
restart it,
ago.
and then it was for a second, but I guess it didn't.
Womp,
Anyway,
womp, womp.
Let's take on across the pond,
Yeah,
y'all.
you knew it.
they're in the
You
boat.
got me.
Across that moon.
Let's all
And
across the pond here.
Toes put on a weird mask and weird things happen.
I'm a pirate captain.
Now he's a pirate.
Unrelated
captain.
to the mask.
Yeah, that was when he was a little girl.
Unrelated.
Carrie?
It's not really.
In the mask?
Are you
Yeah.
Jim Carrey?
That's Jim Carrey.
June Carrie? That's his wife.
Ooh, Jill Carrey?
That's his daughter.
Anyway.
Jeffrey Carey.
Princess
John
West.
Carey. Jeffrey.
Carey?
Alright, so captain in front,
Oh,
Quiggy just behind, and then everyone else just kind of fills in middle-ish then.
Si, senor.
Yeah.
Alright. So you see Dorothy, she reaches her hand up and goes, and then you hear the bubbles start up again and start churning. And as it kind of goes on, eventually you start to see the back of the boat kind of boil and toil almost. And she kind of just goes, and then the boat slowly and starts to propel forward.
It's a bunch of rich.
Is this how boats normally work?
Hi.
Are you doing this?
I like boat formation.
It's all written right here. Hinata told me that there's apparently an enchantment on these ones because his dad's too lazy to row. I don't
I
know
mean,
who he went
understandable.
to, but eh,
I mean, I'm
it's
too
faster
lazy
than
to row,
swimming.
so.
I'm too lazy to grow.
Oars and
Explains a lot.
Anyway, so you guys are slowly kind of cruising along on the misty waters and whatnot.
Hey,
As you
I
go
understand
along,
this game. That was up to.
I said I'm not too lazy to fail.
6-7-year-old.
You need a trip
I'm
at
too
the
lazy
end.
to snow.
Roll
Yeah.
perception.
Roll perception.
Yep.
Okay.
Fade and Nihilus.
And
Oh, Abraham has failed us.
I think it's all.
yeah.
The water is water.
Water is wet.
The water
Water's not wet.
Yeah, water is
Water.
not wet.
Dorothy goes into a
What?
small rant about how water is in fact not wet and pulls up a bunch of notes describing why water is not wet.
She's not wrong. Listen to her.
It's not wet. 12.
Water's moist.
Okay.
Water's not wet. And it's not
Just
moist.
kind of like on the edge of the boat, you give it a quick glance over, and you can kind of see there's a purplish yellow glow that's kind of coming from the edge of the sides of the boat that seems to kind of be moving you guys forward. Excuse me. But yeah. So as you guys kind of continue along, out in the distance, eventually you come across through a bit of the mist and fog. You eventually come across what looks like the edge of shore, and she kind of pulls it alongside and parks it at a pretty like haphazardly built dock, or maybe it's just falling apart at this point. And she's like, "All right, we're here."
All right,
Abraham,
see
you
you
have led us to
never-
safety.
What can I say? All right, see when the first one's off, or the first ones to risk their lives. Go.
Oh, not
No one
me.
steps off.
Is it safe?
I step off.
Jan steps off for
I'll step
Okay.
off
You go, Slaker.
afterwards.
Jan and Slaker, and then one by one the rest of you.
Definitely at the
Yonder
end.
land ho. No, I jump out. Good drink. Great captain.
Alright,
Great.
and she kind of she grabs her notebook and goes, "Cool. So there's 6 of you guys. Let's do 7's a prime number. That sucks. Let's split up in groups of 2, and then I'll just go my own way, and then we'll kind of write down stuff. I have notepads. And then she kind of reaches in her pocket and pulls out smaller ones with smaller pencils and just hands them
They're
out.
just mini ones? Wow.
Well,
So you're
paper's
more
They're
expensive.
cute, man. They're cute.
This
I
is how
love
you
it.
solve a caper.
Also, why are we splitting up? Usually bad things happen when groups split up.
Well, two things. The first thing is that we're trying to cover as much ground as we can. The second thing is we need to see if we can find Hanada while he's here. And I don't know if I saw his boat when we pulled up. So I'm worried that he might have parked elsewhere or whatnot. So we need to try to see if we can find out where he's at first and foremost.
Alright.
So if we split up, we can kind of cover a little bit more ground.
Alright, if anyone dies, it's on you.
Slaker walks over and punches Twiggy.
Wow.
Excuse me? What was that for?
It's a fist bump.
That is not how you do that. It goes like this, and then I punch her.
Oh,
And don't you ever do it to me again.
no. Did you want that to be damaging?
I mean, slightly.
Okay, go ahead and roll strength for seeing how well it hits. We'll see if it makes it through to deal damage.
Okay. Strength, you said?
Yeah. Slaker, what's your AC?
Strength?
14.
14.
I guess that's smart.
Where is strength?
That's top.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a mod 21.
Yeah. All right. You deal a damage to her face.
Like just a little bit though.
Slaker take the damage.
Just not one.
8 damage.
It's the default
What is
damage
the
for
damage?
punching. 1.
Just one, okay.
Technically, it's like
Like
1
that time I
plus
slapped the
strength,
toes.
but
Took one
I don't know what
damage.
your mod is.
2.
10 out
Two.
of 10 would
Okay.
recommend.
Yeah. 1 is like the bare minimum
It's
that
fun
you
having
can
someone so
deal
short
with
slap you just-
punching, unless you're a monk, in which case you can deal up to 4 plus your
5.
strength mod or dex. Monks are weird. Monks
That
are
is
fun.
strange.
Real life. 6.
I didn't know if you were
I'm
saying
glad we have this bond. You wanna go explore?
Yeah, we can do that.
What are we looking? Why are we here?
What's
So-
going on?
We're we're looking for signs of this ghastly figure called Old Iron Face. It's been here for between 10 and 20 years is what people have been saying. And it kind of like roams around the edges of the coast, especially during daytime, and there's a lot of people who said that after they encountered him, the boat, whatever ship they were on, kind of sinks, and they're either left to swim to shore or they are never heard from again.
Comforting.
That's fun.
Which is why I'm like, we should try to
Yeah.
find
Iron-
Hanada as
Iron
fast as
boy.
possible.
Yeah. Why are we saying that?
Because we need to try to find
have to cover
Hanada.
a lot of ground.
Couldn't we all do it together?
Apparently not, according to
So what time
should we
Fletch
die?
here.
Yeah, wait, at least if we die, we all die
That's
together.
exactly
That's a good question.
what I
Um,
asked.
Because the fog's thick, if you guys count out about an hour or two, just reconvene here at the dock again. What about
Okay.
that time?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that would work.
Yeah.
What's my pirate expertise? I mean, captain.
Oh, you're a pirate.
captain.
Oh my god, that reminds me of my mom's
No pirates here.
No pirates.
Alright, so it's the two of them, and then you.
I'm gonna partner with the man in iron. I feel like you shouldn't step in the ocean. You will surely sink.
I don't want to get stuck with Zion.
I will not float, indeed.
I'm here to keep him on
You
the
guys could
ground.
join me and Slayer.
No, I want Zion.
I thought you just said you didn't
Should have
want
left
to.
my
I love Zion.
I mean, they were
You
talking
guys
all
can
yesterday. I
both
guess that
join
makes
us.
sense.
But I want Zion.
Okay, so it's settled.
What's
You and Yon, Zion and what's her name?
Yes.
Nay.
Nay. It's not, but that's
I start
fine.
laughing. I just go, oh. Very good.
Nay, and
It's actually Shay.
you know I
The butter.
know.
The butter.
I know, that's why it's fun.
I'm gonna
exactly
call
what
her Craig. And
Crayfish.
the two of you,
Crawfish,
right?
what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Craig Reagan.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Who says that?
Hold on.
Where are you from?
Well,
From the Seven
clearly
Woods.
she's an elf.
I'm a half elf, excuse you.
Is she a little small to be a half elf?
Yeah.
Aren't you a little short to be a strange?
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, I'm sorry my height took mostly after humans. Leave me alone.
Anyway, here in the not elf lands, edge of elf lands, we call it crayfish.
Crawfish.
Crayfish. Like the
Crawfish.
rest of the world. Get on the same page.
So,
Crayfish girl.
yeah. Her and the gnome, the two of you, and the two of you. Cool. Meet here in about an hour or two. As far as places to go, there's a few. The first thing is this is one of a couple of docks where ships would park for harbor. This used to be like a wartime prison when the elves and humans were at it, like
Comforting.
a couple hundred years ago, something like that. So, supposedly there's a warehouse a little bit off, more to the northwest, and then flip. There is a cavern area, which I think is the nose of the skull. That's supposed to be more towards the east, and then flip. There is a rickety staircase that is the path that goes straight up towards the prison complex proper. And then I'm going to be looking around the coast, just counter of whoever's going towards the warehouse, just to see if I can find Hinata first.
Oh, so you just get to hang out at the beach all day.
No. Well, first, do you see the sun? No, it's just fog. So it's not like I'm sunbathing. I am looking for him because he's like, I don't know, maybe 10.
If the captain might make a suggestion,
Uh-huh.
anybody who weighs a lot of poundage, armor boy and giants together, probably should stay away from the rickety stairs.
I didn't want to go there anyways, but thanks for insulting
Oh,
me.
good. I was not going to insult you. I hope you like heights.
Which way do you go?
I'm going to go.
I'm assuming that's a turn corner and
Yeah.
start walking.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I have a nose for danger.
So you
So you're
have
going
a
away
coin
from-
flip, roll a die.
Okay.
Are you going left or right?
You're going to the cabin.
One.
1? Alright, you're going to the dock.
Nose for danger.
That means I go away from it when I smell it.
Starts walking towards the warehouse off to the left. Jan, I'm assuming you follow.
Yeah, not one of the stairs.
Never mind then.
Okay.
Well, we were going to go to the warehouse, but I see somebody else taking
I just turned around and walked in the complete opposite direction.
Okay.
Follow her, I guess.
Cave's roughly that way. If you see a rock that kind of looks like a skull, you're on the right path.
Cool.
Skull,
Just
Skull
follow her the way
Island.
she's
Guess
walking.
we'll
It's very
take
big.
the other way.
Yeah, that'll be kind of right in the middle,
Alright.
roughly.
Awesome. So
Roughly.
I'll go that way. But before I do that, can I like make like a little harness out of Zion's hemp rope that he has?
To him?
I'm gonna make like a little like little baby carrier like right on the front of my chest.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, go
It's like
ahead
that.
and roll,
Okay,
I
roll
guess,
down your
sleight of
rank.
hand with disadvantage, because that's going to be a lot of rope, and he's a little bit bigger than a toddler.
That's okay. I'm
You
strong.
put fine. You say boy.
It's a boy.
Gosh, boy.
You say boy.
Disadvantage.
Boy.
It could get worse.
Sorry, you're gonna get bad.
At
Oh.
least it isn't raining.
And,
I know.
Sleight of hand, you said?
Yeah.
That is
Yes.
No.
a
Slightly, yes.
Not only did you make a
Six.
heart, you made a noose.
wait, 7. I lied.
in
How many
the
years,
total
Zion?
time In the total time it takes for you to grab his rope and try to untangle it and whatnot, because it is a lot of
You
rope
have
that you're
pure
working
desire.
with, you get like,
It's not a real
loosely speaking, you get a couple of knots that like you could wrap around someone's feet, and that's about it. That's all you
Wait,
got.
can I just cut off like part of the rope and try again?
Don't look at me, that's his job.
Oh my god, fine. Then I'll take the old tapestry that I have and just kind of make like a little bassinet instead. Or like a little, like one of those like little, whatever they're called.
Just walking around with a full bassinet strapped to
Baby
her.
harness.
A baby harness, like
I
one of
don't
those like
know.
little like swoop
Uh-huh.
around the shoulder things.
Okay. Sleight of hand, disadvantage again.
Let's do it one more time.
Honestly, it should be worse since you have less time to do it
I
now.
know. Let's 10.
10? Well, you've got a semi-stylish sash, but you don't have nearly enough room to fit a baby. That said, I mean, if you found some snacks, you can just kind of
That's why.
put a couple in there. That's about all you got.
Alright, I'll just kind of keep it in the same like shape and just put it back in my backpack.
Okay.
Alright, Zad, let's go.
Alright, you guys, well, this is as you're walking. That you crafting and stuff is as you
Oh, it was
walk.
as we were walking?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll just start walking a little bit faster.
Okay.
Okay, trot along.
He goes into a light jog. It's the height difference.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm short, but I'm not Zion short.
Meanwhile,
I just really like carrying Zion like a child. I'm sorry.
meanwhile, Slaker, you and Twiggy are headed off towards the east. As you kind of march along, eventually,
Pause. Which part of the skull did we come in on?
none. You came in at a pier.
I assume the island shaped like a skull? No.
There's a round shaped like a skull.
Never mind.
No. What was the?
There's an island somewhere.
12.
12. At first you think it's the island is shaped like a skull, and then you remember she said there's a rock that's shaped like a skull that has a cave in it, and you're supposed to go into like the nose. Yeah, so you're looking for a skull-shaped rock.
Okay, which cardinal direction of the island did we come in on?
You came in kind of from the southwest, and you're heading basically almost straight east.
Cool.
Okay. As you guys march along, you don't notice much of anything on the beaches in terms of like any boats or stuff, because you kind of follow the coast a little bit to kind of head along in your direction. You do notice there's a couple of broken pieces of driftwood and like wooden planks that kind of, some of it's on the water, and then there's quite a lot of it, some of it very aged, some of it not, that is lining the beach itself with like seaweed and that kind of stuff floating about on top. That said, as you kind of continue along, if you're not planning on stopping anywhere along the way,
No.
you eventually make it to what is essentially a giant base of I guess you would almost call it like a mountain. It's very, very tall, and it's a very dense gray stone that is kind of revealed from the more like light gray that kind of covers it, and you see the outlinings of what looks to be kind of a skull shape. I can draw this out.
I can only do so many noises at once.
Do more. I missed it. I was waiting for my phone to load. Please, ready? I just imagine Slayers doing that too.
Me too.
Alright. So as you approach the edge of the rock, it in proximity to the larger mountain, the fog and mist kind of clears up a little bit as you get closer and closer to what you see. And you get this kind of image where it's this larger, darker gray kind of rock, and then more kind of mountainous stuff. At the top, you can see there's some kind of structure for what you assume to be kind of the prison that's supposed to be here. But it's very, very far up, at least a few hundred feet up in the air on top. And you guys are...
Do you think this is the skull rock she meant?
Is there a cave in front of us?
There's kind of the nose of the rock.
Is that a cave?
I thought
It looks
that's what
like
you
it.
said.
It's quite large. There's that kind of massive hole in the rock, and there's the two where eyes would be as a skull.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. We found it. Should we go tell her?
No.
Okay. So what do we have to do?
I want to climb all the way to the top.
Why don't you just do
Oh, that looks like a long climb. I don't. Can't we just go in? Somehow?
You know, sure, that's fine. We can go in.
Go through the trench.
Okay, Dory.
Yeah. You go first. Kind of push her towards.
Okay, I walk in.
Step. Eventually, the sand of the beach kind of dissipates into a more solid stone surface.
I have 8 torches. I would like to use
All
one.
of them.
I don't have.
Just whip mouth.
Just kidding. I have dark vision. I'm fine. I can see dim light within 60 feet. As if it were bright light, and darkness as if it were dim light. So I'm fine.
A torch would increase that range.
I light a torch. I'm walking with a torch.
Okay. You start kind of...
We're gonna go at a slow pace to what's the
Forward.
word? Inspect everything.
slow pace to forward. Yeah, that's... Okay, so you're taking your time making sure that you can see everything that's happening along
Yeah.
the path.
Like checking for traps and things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, would Slaker know about traps? Yes, because of the other cave. Okay, we're good.
I don't
Okay.
know.
Slowly but surely you're
Did
making
you just have that
your way
conversation
through.
out loud?
No.
Yawn
I know.
and Toes.
Yes.
The two of you are making your way down the opposite side of the coast. And eventually you do see there's another pier that is in complete disrepair. There is like not a piece of it left in terms of the walking planks. It's just kind of the pieces jutting out almost like spikes where the rest of it used to be, and it's in horrible disrepair. And then off in the distance you see what appears to be a kind of wooden structure that is partially like slanted a little bit. It seems like its foundation might have slid over and part of the roof is kind of caved in a touch, but it seems like it's definitely still standing.
Jumping Jesus! Somebody doesn't know how to park a ship around here.
If only
Anyway.
they had a competent captain.
That's right, First Matey. I dubbed you now, by the way.
Very well.
Squire and first mate.
There.
What?
There's
People.
some elephants.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
No.
It's usually the cat.
What?
It's really heavy.
That's awesome.
You just
I
don't-
cannot believe you added that.
Yeah.
What?
No, I mean, the cat is on fucking crack. It's amazing. He'll literally go all the way up the stairs, down toward the sliding glass door, slide on the carpet into the sliding glass door,
I saw
back
that.
up the stairs, and then just repeat that loop 2 or 3
So
times.
that's really a cat making all that noise?
Probably.
It's
got
probably
issues.
like
I mean,
It's
my cat
that
makes a
or it's
lot of
Harvey,
noise.
who is
My
just
cat
really
makes a lot
jumping.
of shit.
One of those two
Bird,
things.
bird got out and just on the
That's
floor.
that's
You only hear the bird if it goes.
And that's all the bird does too.
Apparently can only make terrible
Yeah.
noises.
Pretty much.
Or if it laughs.
It does laugh.
That's creepy.
It laughs on rare
Have you
occasion,
taught him how to
and
say
only
crap
when
yet?
other people laugh. What?
Have you taught him how to say
It can't talk.
Yeah, you
Damn
can
it.
talk.
It's not that kind of bird.
Damn
unfortunately.
it.
I wish it were.
Okay, so you know, like literally,
It
my
almost
best friend
can
growing up had a
say-
parrot.
It
Like,
can almost
yeah.
say step down. Almost. That's it.
Not
Apparently.
quite.
I
Step
still
up.
haven't heard it,
Down.
but that's it.
Step
Anyway.
down.
So, what do you guys do?
Now, I know I should probably be the one describing said scenery, but as my first matey,
First mighty.
I know so much. I'm gonna pass the torch to you. Tell me what happened.
You want me to what?
I want you to tell me why everything's a mess out here. Perhaps a hurricane? Perhaps a big boat? A kraken?
The boat crashed. That's all I know.
I just made that up.
I
don't know. Let's
I did not witness the chaos that ensued here. Unfortunately.
I just don't want to walk over there and have a large sea beast jump out. Bet your odds.
Let us be wary of sea beasts then.
I don't want to lose my other eye.
Are you asking me to just go first because I will?
All right.
Okay.
Alright.
That's why I picked you first, baby. Off you go.
Here we
Gently.
go.
Watch out for the holes in the ground.
You're coming with, yes.
Slowly.
Okay, are you going to the wooden structure, or are you going to the dismantled pier?
Really bad.
First matey, where are you going?
Yawn.
Is this
Somewhere.
from Harry
It's
Potter?
just, I'm imagining this is happening in real time. Like, I tell him to start moving, he just stands there and he like looks at both places and he's like deciding. He's like,
Big time
Here,
space. Yeah, towards the wooden thing.
They're both wooden me.
No, kidding.
Take a leap.
The ship.
Okay. There's not a ship though. It's just a
There's
house.
not a
It's
ship.
just a pier, a wrecked pier, and like a leaning over, like half wrecked house.
I like the house idea.
Okay.
Okay.
Go to the house.
Okay.
Okay.
To the ship.
Away.
You follow
with you.
slowly.
I am right behind you.
Okay. I go to the house.
Okay. As you approach, it's definitely fairly sizable. It's not.
Sizable.
It's not. It's not in good repair. It's less a house and more like a structure.
Okay.
You can see there's a big hole where there might have been doors. You can see one of which is just kind of like on the floor in front of you, and it's covered in seaweed and like a barnacle or two, and it's kind of falling apart. The other door, because it's one of those like twofold, whatever. The other door is like barely hanging on hinges. It's at least like a story tall. It's a very, very large kind of massive structure door. And the warehouse itself goes at least like another 2 or 3 stories further. It's kind of when it's straight vertical, it might have been taller, but not now. Yeah. Just kind of
So are we like in front of the doors right now, like just the entrance?
Yeah, you're
and
kind of
port?
you're kind of in front of the large wooden door. It looks like there's a smaller just for people to kind of walk in and out of door further down what remains of a pier. On one side, it looks like it's kind of beat up and rugged and whatnot. On the other side, it looks like it's in better shape.
Gotcha.
At least as good of shape that the pier that you kind of came in was, but you can't tell for certain just because you're on the opposite side of this giant structure.
Okay. I'm gonna grab Jan by the shoulder and I'm gonna pull him. Do you have creepy music?
I hope so.
If you have some of it.
Just turns up volume.
Yeah, I thought I heard some creepy sounds. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
alright, I'm gonna say, Jan, do you believe in superstition?
Not particularly.
By God. But in this scenario, you must clearly look at the doors. I have to tell you something.
Yes.
You look at the door, it just goes.
They've been blown apart by a large sea creature, I know. The Skull Island's notorious in these parts. As sea captain, I know these things. In fact, Fletch was telling me earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a demon that blows way this windy day.
That's good poem.
There was a village here of tiny people, Zionites. And they lived here and they locked the door on
And they
said
all
sea creature.
sound like.
Yeah.
You can roll inside anytime you like if you want to try to see if he's lying.
And these tentacle creatures were locked up in this room, big jellyfish, but more like
It's up to
dangerous
you.
ones.
I think I know, but just to make sure.
They wrecked the dock.
If that's
Quit
a nat
looking
one.
into my lives.
No, it's not. It's probably not going to be very good. I haven't rolled insight in a long ass time.
Yeah, they ripped off
Ah,
everyone's
so that's a
legs.
4.
It's checked.
4?
So he's falling for it?
Insight's checked.
What?
That's plus 4 for check though.
Sir,
Plus 5.
sir.
Seriously.
That's a -2 to wisdom.
Yes.
Insight is a wisdom-based skill, so it starts at
Oh,
a
it's plus
-2.
0. I see.
And then it's a +2, which negates your -2, so
Yeah.
you get nothing.
Thank you for explaining the math at
Wait,
least.
right now, Jan,
Yeah.
You get nothing. Good day, sir.
what you're saying is that Jan is believing my story right now?
Absolutely.
Fuck.
Well, for the most part, he feels like you're
I know
doing
you're not.
typical
Like
storytelling
tall tale?
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for the
Like
most
how
part,
much
you're
of
like,
this is borrowed from reality? you know?
Okay.
yeah.
I will show you.
That was
Follow me. Look at the hinges. Look at the barnacles. Look at the seaweed.
Look at the bones. Look at
That's what I was
the
thinking
bones.
too. Look at the bones.
Clearly, the creature wrapped its slimy tentacles around the door and slowly ripped it open. And then it leaped out and devoured everyone and sunk the only ships here, so there was no escape. Only a little bit ago, they built a dock over there. It's the only way.
This is helpful. Why?
I'm letting you know you're in grave danger.
Ah.
As we approach, anything could happen.
Very
roll
well.
perception.
That is true about
You roll
life
perception?
Yeah, you roll
itself.
perception.
It is true about life itself.
17.
17?
Yeah.
Okay. You hear, as you finish your tale, you're like, we could be in incredible danger. You hear, come from behind you inside the warehouse further up.
Jesus Christ. Matey, I'm starting to believe and see things. I'm gonna need you to check out the warehouse. I swear to God.
Let us continue.
Okay, no, but no,
I'm
seriously.
starting
We
to
gotta
sound
get our
like you
bearings.
because I like that voice
Yeah.
so much.
It's
It's so funny. Every
People do
voice.
that. We're just like, we're just vibing off of each other. Careful, man. I'm just gonna like draw my weapon and I'm just gonna be like,
Okay.
I'm gonna be very cautious here.
I forgot. Do you have
Continue.
this?
I don't
Yeah.
know, see it.
Yeah. Basically a whooping stick.
Alright. So Jan, back to back. We get right up against him and we're like, alright, we're ease our way in. And at first sign of trouble, we're gonna run outside. I'm gonna shoot a holy lance through the sky.
Oh.
Okay. then we're gonna I'm gonna try to slowly tiptoe with him. Like we're gonna both be back to back.
Like
with
the
edge away
like
forward.
this whole thing. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
just all right.
Just a full
One versus
armor
me.
trying to.
Yeah. You're very quietly step
Clink,
like
clink,
yeah.
clink.
Meanwhile, he's
Yeah.
all right.
Sentient jellyfish are gonna fucking kill us.
Faye and Zion.
Aye.
The two of you eventually make it to what appears to be the base of a
I'm
staircase.
imagining this is like a SpongeBob
It appears to be
cartoon.
made
It's
of
working
wood
really
with
well.
a metal rail that kind of loops around the side of this larger mountainous stone structure. And as you kind of follow it, it seems to kind of turn and almost go through like a smaller crevice further up in the mountain and continues out of sight further up. Towards the top, you can kind of see the edge of a very large stone tower that seems to be connected to a larger wall of some sort.
I want to check this out. I'm gonna start walking up the steps.
I'll
Okay.
follow.
Alright, yeah, Zion, you're having no problem. You're just kind of step.
Yeah, success!
Faye, as you step, it goes.
I'm gonna kind of walk back down to the ground.
It creaks, but it's not like giving way.
Okay, is
it
that-
just it makes noise.
It's just creeping. Okay, so I'll continue then.
Okay. As you guys kind of slowly continue along your way, eventually you make it towards kind of this I don't know what I would call it. I guess a small valley between the larger rocks that the path kind of is supported by. When you get to this point, the wood is in much better condition, probably because of the support the ground itself is kind of providing for it. The metal railing stops here and just kind of connects to the edge of the rock, and it just looks like it was chopped off from one larger like steel piece. And then from this point, it looks like all of the railing and stuff is just a couple of posts that kind of stick out of parts of the rock beneath that have rope tied to the ends of them. Generally speaking, it's hit or miss on the wood planks. Some of them look like they're in really great condition, like this kind of smaller egress, I would maybe call it. However, as you kind of go further along, you can kind of see like there's clearly a board that's missing, and there's another one that's just broken in half that's just shaking in the wind a little bit.
Alright, so with all those, I'm just gonna start like walking as light-footed as I possibly can.
Okay, so you go ahead of Zion.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead of Zion and walk as like slowly and as like light-footed as I can, and like try and like go towards the ones that are that look in better
As safe as
condition.
possible.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and roll perception for me.
God, these fucking dice. That's an 11.
11? Okay. As you kind of creep along, one step at a time. And Zion, can you roll Dex for me?
Oh,
Dex.
no. At least the smaller people got the rickety. I mean, that worked pretty well. At least.
Dex save.
Dex save.
Yeah. I don't think wizards are proficient in Dex saves, but
If he succeeds this, I'm gonna. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wizard.
Oh, I got
10?
Never mind.
Cool. The two of you are kind of walking along, and Zion, you hear a little bit of a, and the board beneath Faye snaps.
Oh no.
Faye, make a dex save.
Why is it me?
Because he could have tried to stop you or like catch you, and he failed.
Wow.
I tried.
Woo, okay. I just need to not roll in that thing, basically. Dex save. That's a 16.
16? Alright. You barely managed to kind of grab the rope that's holding some of the planks and the rope up above that would be kind of the rail of sorts. You just barely kind of like
I'm not having fun!
Zion, what do you do?
I'm guessing she's trying to pull herself up. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to assist her in pulling herself out of there.
Go ahead and roll athletics.
Athletics.
Yeah.
Alright.
Ooh, dice on there. That's
Right. So I got 19.
19? Nice. Faye, go ahead and roll with advantage. It's athletics or acrobatics, your choice.
We're gonna do acrobatics because I'm trained in that.
Yep.
So that is a mod 20.
Mod 20?
Mod 20.
Alright. So with him kind of helping you at least keep upright, you're able to kind of like slowly swing yourself up, and then you bring your legs to kind of catch the boards and just back bend up with him supporting you up. And you're between two solid points.
Okay.
That said, what do you guys do?
So well.
I'm gonna.
Right now, you can kind of see the stair lead up and around, and it seems to make one more curve that has kind of one larger valley trench of sorts, and then you're now at basically just a very, very large wooden door surrounded by wooden wall or a wooden frame and stone walls with towers at the corners.
Okay. So I'm gonna clutch onto the ropes
Uh-huh.
as I continue up. 'Cause I'm just gonna keep going. I'm already this far.
Okay.
Not giving up now. So I'm going towards that door.
Okay. Go ahead and roll perception for me.
I'm trying everyone.
14.
14.
14.
Okay. You manage to go along it, and you take a little bit of a step, and you just kind of apply a little bit of pressure with your foot, and you're like, not that one. Step over one more, and continue your way, and you manage to make it there just fine. Zion, you have quite literally no trouble kind of making your way, being a midget. The pros of being small. All right. Meanwhile, Slaker, you and Twiggy are walking through this larger cave. Who's in front?
Me.
You're in front? Okay. And then are you holding the torch behind?
You should
Okay.
probably be. I don't want to 0 survival. And I'm crippled with fear.
So, Slaker, you go ahead and roll perception.
Give me just a second.
Okay.
I'm writing this quote down.
And I'm crippled by fear. Can you Facebook me that so that I can post it to our D-Dub group? It's summer right now, so all of the D&D people are in a D&D drought.
Not from us.
Yeah.
We got plenty.
Honestly, though, the shit that we do.
We're just having a casual conversation. Okay. Facebook
In game, but
Yeah.
also out of game. Like,
it's just so.
It's what we do. It's like half in game, half out of game. Usually just casual conversation about stupid shit.
Usually.
Do not.
Come to bargain.
Gourmet.
Your mammy.
Doorknob.
Okay, there you go.
Come to negotiate.
I'm sorry, now what were you saying?
I was saying, go ahead and roll perception for me.
Yeah.
Come
9.
Cool. As you walk along, the cave is a little bit moist as there's a little bit of like
Thanks, David.
mist and mildew that is definitely condensing on the edges of the cavern walls. It's very mossy in some places. You can kind of see the shimmer of the water kind of continue along and about. And as you walk along, you notice that the path seems to open up a little bit wider, and it kind of carries forward and turns a little bit to the right, with a smaller path kind of going off towards the left, separated by this large stalactite or whatever one it is. What do you do?
It's not too late, we can turn back.
Go left.
Left. She disappears into the
Oh my
darkness.
god, don't leave me here.
Okay. You head off and towards the left. Oh my god, they're looking at you.
You're sure that's the cat?
That one
Sure,
was the
that's
cat.
I heard the jingle of the
Yeah.
car.
That's
It sounded big enough to be a dog, but
Yeah, no, it's the cat.
Sounds like a couple of 4-year-olds.
I know.
Yeah, it's the cat. He's on
So he has this loop where he comes from the stairs, goes to the back door, runs into the glass, and goes back. Is
Yep.
that what it was?
pretty much.
That's an amazing loop.
That was the running into the glass.
Yeah.
No, that's just him.
Alright, what do we find down this left?
So, as you go down the left corridor, both of you roll perception.
16, 14.
Okay. Very faintly in the distance, Slaker, you start to hear it, and then Twiggy hears it. You hear a soft kind of, and then Twiggy, you hear
I think this is someone's house, we should just leave.
it kind of echoes off the canyon walls.
This does not seem like a place we should be. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
That's not a good sound.
It comes to a stop.
It's not us. Is it in front of us? Probably. You look.
I look.
Okay.
I stay looking
I
straight
take
at
the torch and so I can see further.
Don't take my light.
Okay. It just seems to kind of curve around and about.
Is it coming from in front of us or behind us?
It's echoing. You're not sure where.
They have us surrounded.
Are you okay if we put out the light?
No.
Mm.
So that we can blend in. To the darkness?
Yeah.
Why would we want to do that?
Tactical advantage.
Sounds like they've got it right now.
I block the light.
I scream.
You hear it
Oh
stop
my god, it's just
suddenly.
like a reaction. Just like, oh my god.
You don't seem
Why did it
to
stop?
hear anything.
Do I see anything within 60 feet either direction?
No. It kind of twists and curves, so that's the biggest reason why not.
I pick up Twiggy like a bridal carry and start walking forward.
This is
Okay,
not
were
making
you
me more
in the
comfortable.
direction you were going already?
Yes.
Okay.
What with stealth?
You sure we can't put on the light again?
Go ahead and roll stealth.
11.
Oh,
Oh no, 11.
11?
Yeah.
You hear
secret hidden now.
It's haunted. Even though we're in a basement, this makes it 10 times worse.
We're in a cave.
Well, yeah, but like right now we're in a basement.
And so
I'm
it's
easily
kind of-
spooked.
Patter away, wherever it is.
But I didn't see anything in either direction.
You didn't see anything. Not around the twists and turns of the cabin.
I look up. What's
I have
up?
way too much color in my hair.
A couple of stalagmite type. That's one of the two. Thank you. You see a couple of stalactites. As you look up, like one of them drips a drop of water on Twiggy's head.
Oh my god! What was that?
Shit.
Stay. What? It was my tongue. Oh, that doesn't make it better.
I proceed.
Ever put your tongue on me again?
Alright, you just kind of follow the curve.
This way. It was stealth, yes.
Alright. As you go along, eventually it feels like the ground is starting to slope upward a little bit.
Well, this is good.
How is this good?
Maybe we can get to the top.
What?
The rock.
Why do you want to go there? I was looking for a little 10-year-old boy. He wouldn't breathe like that.
What if the monster has a little 10-year-old boy?
So now we're looking for the monster's son?
I continue walking.
Okay. You start heading up the kind of slope as you can. Meanwhile, Toes and Yon, the two of you are at the entrance, slowly walking into this larger warehouse that has a lot of broken pieces of wood, is kind of in shambles and stuff. As you do, you walk in, and in the immediate area, you notice that the floor is like it's dirty. Certainly, it's not like cleaned by any stretch of the imagination. However, you do notice that looking in, there's a decent portion of larger crates and stuff. Some of them of metal, some of them of wood, all of which seem relatively new. Like, by miles apart. They are not in any form of disrepair. They seem as if they're in pretty much pristine condition. Most of which are like at least this long, about this tall, kind of stacked one on top of each other. There's a couple of barrels that are pretty sizable kegs worth, at least, just kind of stacked off. Most of which are kind of bundled off to the right, but some of them are kind of scattered throughout the rest of the different containers and whatnot. And then over immediately to the right, you can see off in the distance there's kind of a not in good shape kind of observation area where you can kind of look down at the rest of the warehouse. And off to the left, you can see more and more of these crates. In front of you, you get the hints of there's probably a door, just because of how there's a little bit of a triangle where light is kind of creeping in from the opposite side of the pier. What do you do?
I'm so cautiously backing in, back to back. And I go,
Hey, look around you. You see all these bills, all these crates? It's ale in there. Drunk for days. This is a captain's gold.
Yes, indeed. We plan to take some of it with us.
I'm just checking out for certain, but we gotta be on guard. Monsters love to guard shit.
It
Dragons.
seems like you know this area already.
I told you the story. I've read the books. I've been
Oh.
on the scene. So check it out. We're gonna just keep it on guard. And if anything happens, Iron Man. I want you to know that I love you. 3 times.
Well, much obliged.
Right, then we're just gonna slowly creep in, and I just kind of want to like crab walk, like back to back, like to the nearest crate, and then just kind of like crack it open and see what's inside.
Okay. You go to open the closest crate, and as you do, you are having trouble lifting the lid off its hinges. It doesn't seem like there's anything on it. It seems like it might be locked or something like that. Or at least well sealed at minimum.
Gotcha. Yeah, give me a hand.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Right.
both. I'm assuming same effect, right? Like it's just it's not
With
gonna
the
budge
two of
the
you,
two.
it budges a little bit more, but it still seems like there's something obstructing it, whether it's an adhesive or it's just a lock. You're not quite sure.
Yeah, I think we're onto something here. Mark these chests. We'll come back for them later. We gotta keep a look around, make sure there's nothing falling from the ceiling.
We do not like things that fall from ceilings.
Sorry.
They're often deadly.
Whatever ravaged this pier clearly is. Let's peek around, see what we can see.
Yes.
Right. Then typical investigation ensues. So I'm just gonna kind of wander around aimlessly and check behind shit and kind of go like, make sure that
Oh, spooky!
yeah.
As you guys are kind of approaching like the center of the warehouse, it gets a lot darker, so it's much harder to see. But that said, as far as your investigation goes, you don't seem to find much of anything other than these crates. Some of them are wood, some of them are metal. The one that you guys were first reaching at was made of metal. But going around and about, it seems like, relatively speaking, there's not much of anything in the immediate area. Go ahead and roll investigation for me. Jan, what are you doing while he's kind of digging through and around stuff?
Is there enough for 2 people to really make sense?
I mean, it's a
digging around
warehouse.
in? Yeah, we do the same.
Okay, just on the other side, alongside with him.
No, I'll go on the other side.
Okay, make a separate investigation.
I got a
roll.
9.
9?
Yeah.
Okay. You're digging around and, yeah, you don't see much of anything. You're not really looking in the crates so much as you're looking like around them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That whole thing.
Yeah. That makes sense.
8.
8?
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah, pretty much the same story for you as well.
So
You're not
mostly
really seeing much of
We're looking
anything.
out for monsters more than clues, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
We're
Yeah.
not fighting. We're just like.
Yeah, you're looking more around the stuff that's kind of sat still in the middle of everything, and you're more looking for like, is there movement? Is there noise? No?
What was
Jan,
that?
is that you? It's that kind of thing.
I like it. Alright. Can we reconvene back in the center? Alright, Jan, did you see anything?
No.
Okay, good. I think we're okay for now.
You bet.
You want to try to break into one of these crates? Can we smash one of these wooden ones?
Yes.
Alright, let's do it.
Alright.
Get
Alright.
my mace and then I swing at one of the wooden crates.
One of the wooden ones?
Yeah.
Okay. You just go ahead and roll the hit. We'll see how good your blow is. If it's a 1, you hit Jan.
How good do you
No.
blow?
Varshy
What
blows.
is that? Is that based on any stats? Just roll it. So 9.
To hit, it's strength plus proficiency for a melee weapon. For most melee weapons.
So it is plus strength modification?
Strength mod and proficiency mod. If you're proficient in the weapon, which it's a mace, so as a cleric, you should be.
Okay. So I got nothing for strength. What would be...
Proficiency is on top of your strength, so it's in a separate box called proficiency bonus.
You probably have taste.
What is it,
At your
plus
level,
easy?
it's probably just a +2.
Yeah, so I automatically get that for mace?
Yeah, because you're proficient with
So
it.
then it would be an 11. Or, yeah, 11.
11?
Yeah.
Okay. You get a little bit of a whack. You hear it crumble or creak a little bit, but it doesn't seem like it was a good enough blow to like break into it.
Yeah. Yeah, take out your big ass sword and take a swing at it.
But of course.
Oh, hell yeah.
Alright, roll the hit.
Chopper
Yep.
down, Captain.
Seeing how effectively it is.
Hold on. It's been a while.
And this is which sword?
They're the same.
Just a couple of
Let's say the long sword.
No.
They're the same.
No, they're not.
Jeez. I guess it's a 10 to hit.
That's in my boy. Keep driving your shit. 10.
10 to hit.
Okay.
We're
Yeah,
just doing
see,
garbage.
plus 5, 1d8, plus 3.
Yeah.
There are different types of weapons, but I don't know if we're considering it. Oh,
Grayson,
I see.
you're missing a sword. That's awkward.
The fancy one, yes. I think that's
That's awkward. That's something that should be on your character sheet.
I was gonna
goodness
ask
it's
him
in your.
about
It's a good thing it's in your Google Drive. You should pull that up. Okay, so he pulls out his lame sword to smack it. It cracks a little bit more. You can see a couple planks are kind of like caved in a little bit, like it's you bludgeoned it, and then he kind of slashed at it, but with a finer point. But it doesn't seem to have opened just yet.
Can we peek into it at all and see anything?
No, it's not that open. It's just the sides kind of caving in a little bit.
Okay. And if I failed efforts, I'm like, alright, let's keep swinging.
Okay.
Let's go ahead again.
Go ahead and roll with advantage.
Okay. Well, that was a nat one. The thing it wasn't today. Oh, well, it's 2 that time, so yeah. Got a 4.
Nice. You're like, all right, here we go, and you hit the one behind you. Crack.
Oh, Jesus, I'm out of combat experience. I don't fight very often. Okay, now it's all up to you. I'm not going to embarrass myself.
very well.
You're not going to
Continue.
Okay, smack it.
Give it a smack. Oh, 14 to hit.
14. Okay, yeah. Go ahead and roll damage normally.
6 plus 9.
9.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You managed to what? And the center of it just splits open just a little bit, not very terribly. After you manage to do that, you do notice that like you're totally able to kind of get a bird's eye view in there and see what's going on, at least a little bit. You're kind of looking at it from the side of the crate rather than on top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you guys do?
So can we see inside it? Alright, I'm going to peek inside.
Okay. Yeah, you take a quick look, and it's pretty packed full with what appears to be lots of metal buckets or containers that are kind of stacked floor to ceiling inside. You're not really able to see like if there's a label or something like that. You just see tons of these crates kind of one after the other through and through. Both of you roll perception for me.
Okay.
Toes and on.
Yep.
Yeah.
You get a roll
With advantage.
with advantage.
Do I get advantage?
No,
Okay.
you're looking inside, so your attention's diverted.
It's a 9.
9?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 19.
19? Nice. Alright. You hear a noise in the background. Jan, you specifically hear a very loud kind of rumble of sorts.
That was good timing, yeah.
And it seems to get a little bit louder.
Toes.
Yeah.
You hear this.
No.
Get your shit ready.
What do you mean?
Your weapons.
What are you talking about? What's here? What are you
You
hearing?
hear that?
Do I hear it now?
You hear it now.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Alright,
Whatever tricks and magic you
I'm
have.
just gonna start running behind a crate. Like, I'm already, like, hiding in the corner.
We're not fighting it in here.
Okay.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
You're right, you're good.
Alright, we...
Better idea.
So you know those loud thumps you heard earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah, way louder, way heavier. It kind of shakes the floor
Yeah,
of this
we're
whole
trying to run out of
warehouse.
the
Yeah, we're just gonna
warehouse, so we're
bust
not
ass,
fighting it in
yeah.
here.
Just start
Bust
booking.
ass to the door, we're just like, well, fuck.
Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh shit, Scoops!
Oh,
shit,
Yeah.
So many shaggies at once.
Cool. And Fan Zion, the two of you make it to the very large kind of front gates of this larger stone structure prison. As you approach, you notice that inside of the larger gates there appears to be a smaller one for like guards and the like to kind of be able to pass through. And it
Turn the window really hard.
they're in moderate disrepair, but the guard gate specifically is kind of like completely torn into shambles and just swinging loosely. There's barely even like boards there to distinguish that there was a door in that place. What do you guys do?
Is it dark in there?
No, it's looking through, you can see that the center of this walled structure, it seems to be kind of open air.
Oh, okay.
Like it might lead to just an open clearing, or there might be a courtyard or something like that. You're not quite sure just yet, but it does look like there's some kind of a dirt top to the inside
bag that was on
flooring.
there actually? The black one?
Yeah.
Has the metal.
I'm gonna go in and explore.
Okay. You just kind of barely sneak past the smaller guard door inside of the larger structure. As you creak it open, you look in and you can see that there's 4 watchtowers that are perfectly in line with each other. 2 on the far side, 2 on either side of this larger gate. Over to the left, you can see where there's like a good chunk of the wall that's kind of like sunken in and collapsed and fallen into this larger courtyard. The courtyard itself, the edges are mostly kind of this dirt flooring. However, the center seems to be at least a little bit nicer, like it's some kind of cobblestone pattern that is surrounding a center well. And then off to the right, you can see there's a path that goes from that center courtyard to the stairwell that kind of leads down underneath this larger kind of open area. If you're kind of thinking of it as this larger prison structure, you would assume that this is kind of like the yard that prisoners would kind of be brought up to, where they're especially well guarded.
I'm going to go up to a well and check it out.
Okay. My friend Marcus is watching. Yay!
Marcos! Hello,
Wow.
Marcos.
Good old bearded Marcus. So, yeah, you head over towards the well, and it would appear that it's one of those older wells where you rotate the lever to lower and lift the bucket to get your well water. That said, it looks like it's in decent shape. It's not perfect by any stretch. Like, if there was any covering or paint or anything like that on the wood, it's since long gone, but the wooden pieces themselves seem to be just fine. And then the kind of circle where the edge of the well would be with stone and whatnot is still pretty much relatively intact.
I'm gonna roll up a bucket of maybe water.
Whatever liquid this is.
Okay. As you do, eventually, a bucket arises, and it's actually pretty easy to kind of rotate up. as you do, the bucket has what appears to be at least a small hole, but it holds some water. You can see a relative stream of it, very small, like if you turn the faucet to like just on. It's kind of like that is kind of pouring out of the bucket on the edge, but if you wanted to, you could probably pull up a sizable full bucket. It just wasn't all the way in the water.
Oh, okay. I'm going to take a sip.
Okay. It's pretty clear for the most part. It tastes like it's at least minimally healthy water. It's not like gross or infected with bacteria or something like that. So that's good news.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm no longer thirsty. I'm going to keep on investigating.
Okay. Where do you go?
I'm going to go to part of the courtyard where the steps look like they're leading down.
Okay. So you head over towards the staircase on the far side of the courtyard. Faye, what are you doing?
I am standing right in the doorway, and I'm gonna use detect magic.
Okay.
Detect the magic.
Yeah.
What do I detect?
Detect all the magic.
What's the range on that?
Up to 30 feet.
30 feet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With detect magic, you are kind of reaching out. You're trying to get a gather on everything and see if there's any funky business happening in the area. And within the 30 feet of you, you don't seem to detect any kind of magical presence or any weird transmutive auras or anything like that. It just seems to be pretty straightforward.
Okay.
This is rock, this is stone, this is wood, etc., etc.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll follow Zion then.
Okay, over towards the stairwell and down into the dark depths.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As the two of you step down the stairwell, you find yourself in a second area that's just a touch smaller than the courtyard above. Inside, it seems like to the left there's some kind of an area for like communal dining or something. There's lots of tables, some of them are turned over, some of them aren't. There's some chairs. A couple are on their back, couple are standing upright. One or two of them have like a leg that's kind of broken in on itself. And on 3 of the walls, you can see the cells for different prisoners. So you have just the outline of the different separations. There's kind of a chunk of wall that kind of juts out between the different doors. Most of these doors appear to be made completely out of solid metal, all of which having like a small keyhole for a guardsman or the like to kind of come through and pick it open. Some of them are open and some of them aren't. The ones that are not open, at least within view, you can see there looks to be like a skeleton that's just kind of thumped over. One of them is reaching through the bars. One of them is like lying where a bed would be on the stone.
How big is this room, I'd say, roughly?
The room, if the courtyard above was like, I don't know, maybe 200 by 200 feet, this is probably about, the center room is maybe about half of that.
Okay.
And then there's the cells, which are not nearly as big.
Okay, I want to walk towards the cells and cast detect magic again.
Okay. You kind of head over to just the nearest one. It's
nearest.
lining the
Just the nearest
100
one.
feet. Okay. Just the closest one.
Yeah.
So you go basically straight across from the base of these stairs, and in these couple, it doesn't look like there's anything inside of the cells. And you cast detect magic, and in the immediate area, it doesn't seem to be any funky business. Zion, what are you doing while she's kind of...
I'm gonna go around the skeletons and see what I can loot from them.
To one of the skeletons? Okay, how are you getting in?
What? We can talk to each other.
What do you see, Zaya?
I see lots of skeletons. Excuse me. Is the only thing separating me and the skeletons just a bars or
Yeah, large solid metal bars.
large solid metal bars?
Yeah, and it looks like there is some kind of a locking mechanism made up in it. It's one of those, those older doors where it's a circle and a triangle. Very classic keyhole.
That's even
Classic keyhole.
classic keyhole.
What do you do?
I'm gonna use. I'm gonna try to use magic missile on one of the rocks.
Magic
Okay,
missile!
so
Magic missile.
Again. Magic missile on its return, yes.
yeah, go ahead and roll damage.
Alrighty.
Magic missile return.
So I got 2, 3, and
The dice
4.
rolling app, unbelievable. I
I
was wondering if that's what that was. I was like, how are you?
Alright, the first one you make
That's
a little
dope.
bit of a dent. The second one, it's a pretty sizable dent, and then the keyhole is like completely fucked. The third one, it just kind of cracks open through the center of it.
Woo!
And you can see the door kind of sway a little bit back with the force.
Sweet. I walk in. I'm gonna start inspecting.
Alright, so you go to push the door open. Alright, you go to push, it doesn't open.
What'd you do, Zion?
I'm trying to open that door.
Oh my! And I just what? Why would you? Why would you do this to the poor boy?
I want treasures.
Just pick the lock.
Good. Oh, there's no lock.
I'm gonna walk to the cell next to the one that he just destroyed and try and pick the lock.
Okay.
Oh,
That one's open. You
that
you
one's
can
open?
see it creeps
cool.
forward
I'll
towards
just
you.
open
Pick
that
it
one.
anyway.
What was that?
No.
Like in
So I'll
Wizard.
just
open.
push it open and just gesture Zion.
You go to push it open. It's
Yeah.
already open.
Well, push it open more. I mean.
Okay, so basically, you walk
Oh, it's
up
water.
to the door facing you and just kind of
Yeah.
Which is-
exactly.
to the cell.
And I just gesture Zion in.
There's nothing in that
The
cell.
fridge, you better go.
Well, then I'll move on to the next one.
Okay, you move over to his cell.
The one next to the other cell.
Okay, so Zion, you're pushing on the door. It's not opening. There's clearly no lock.
I'll go over and try and push it open too.
It's
my
not
God.
opening.
Okay,
Just
pull
one
it.
It pulls open. It pulls open just fine.
I'm just gonna avoid it. And just be like, thank you.
I just pat him on the head as he goes by.
Alright, and you just walk into the cell.
I'm just standing on the outside.
Okay, you're standing on the outside just kind of giggling to yourself. Zion's just like disappointed and just kind of steps inside. And then you hear like
Push and
a
pull
small
doors.
like rumbling in the distance. And then you look over to the skeleton on the bed and it kind of...
Oh.
No. I'm gonna retreat.
Gotta close
Back
that
it
door.
up,
Go around and
Anti-magic missile to the
push
door, so
closed.
Okay,
So it's
you just shut
stable
the gate.
again?
Like, nope, nope.
Wait, what happened? What happened? Did I see any of that or no?
Yeah, you
I
see
did.
that.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, you want to get out of here, Zion?
Including, so how close is Faye to me?
I'm right there.
You're right there.
I'm
Okay,
right
you're
there.
still right there.
Yeah, I'm still right there. I was just
How-
giggling at the entrance.
How convenient. I can't do that then.
Oh, okay. That's
Oh, Jesus.
ominous. Magic missile to the bars.
No, not that.
I'm just gonna start walking up the stairs.
Okay, so you just book it.
Yeah, I'm just fucking booking it. Bye, Zion.
Is the skeleton starting to make a move to start walking towards me?
You see it kind of like turn and face you as you slam the prison door shut, and then you just see kind of a whoosh of air kind of fly out of it, and then the skeleton just falls back over, completely limp and lifeless.
Yeah, I'm just fucking up the stairs. No.
Whoosh, did I happen to see where that whoosh of air went towards?
Yeah, through the ceiling.
Through the ceiling? Can I'm gonna reopen it up. Investigate.
Okay.
And then take, like, kind of tiptoe into it there.
Okay.
It's like it's alive.
You do so.
Then I'm going to investigate the skeletons.
Okay. There's a little bit of orange cloth left, but for the most part, I mean, they're prisoners in a cell. There's not much to be had.
Oh, okay. Then I'm just gonna leave it while like looking back. I'm gonna walk backwards out of the cell actually.
What? Okay. You walk backwards out of the cell. You turn around after walking backwards and like go to kind of continue along your way, and you feel a breeze push past your hair and your beard.
My beard.
Do I feel it?
It
As
feels kind of cold.
Do I dare turn around?
Do you?
Do you dare? I mean, you can.
Do you dare?
I'm gonna look around because I'm
Like back at the cell?
George, just around everywhere.
Okay. You frantically, you look left, you look middle, you look right, you look left again, you turn around, and there's nothing there. And that's where we'll end this session.
Good session.
Yay!
Good session.
I
Bye.
fucking booked it out there. I don't deal with haunted shit.
With Scooby-Doo
There's
ass
a lot
music.
to it.
Yeah, I don't deal
I
with
don't know why
Yeah.
haunted
you're
shit.
doing that shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
instrumental, I see.
Skeleton
I was like, why
gone.
doesn't it sound like Scooby-Doo?
Boom.
It's a miracle. I don't know why.
I'm only a bard.
Um,
I don't fight things.
Cool, you're at Skull Island.
I'm better.
That's why you started laughing so much.
Let's go out.
You started laughing really hard because you were trying to put Shrek there and he called.
And then it knocks Spider-Man off too.
And you see David's recording, you're just like,
Yeah, let's go. Everybody gets 200 XP. Nick and Emily, you get another 25 on top of it.
did I miss that?
Who?
Nick and Emily.
Alright.
That shit's funny.
Yeah.
Dohane?
A split.
No, I'm not asking for. I'm just like trying to conceptualize and keep it in mind.
Ah, okay.
How much did you say?
200 each. Nick and Em, 225.
225.
200 for me?
Yeah. You're
I'm
not
almost
Nick
there.
or Emily.
Yeah.
I'm almost there.
Just checking. Okay.
26
Damn, but
more
I level up. I
points.
hope I don't
to
die.
level 4.
Oh,
I am quite far away.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, you are far away because you did die.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good session.
That was a good session.
Things are mapped.
I like the way it ended. Now we're all like ready for Spooksville.
Right, we're getting into that shittily
Spoopsville.
It
haunted
really did
Spoopsville
feel
with the
like
skeletons.
Scooby-Doo. It was like this perfect setting.
Scooby-Doo.
Right?
I
Had a little poo. Shaggy thought it was candy.
I didn't think it was gonna go there. I was like, oh, I'll just fuck with Jan and make a scary joke.
with
And
it
all this,
being like Scooby-Doo-esque or like Spooksville.
this early anyway. I was all like, oh, I want it'll just be a regular old place.
As
And I
soon
was
as
like
we
making
were
a
like
fake
splitting up
story,
to
and
the
all of a
places,
sudden
I was like,
Like, oh Jesus Christ.
there is a monster.
spooks. Bad
Yeah.
things.
No, I
Either
decided this would be
monster or
entertaining.
spooks.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm excited.
This will be
Look, a secret
revelatory,
bit.
I would say. This will be very fun. Alright,
Scooby-Doo.
cool. Yay. Let me
Watch me
end the
sauce
stream
right
for
here.
here.
Good night, honey.
Bye.
Good night, honey.